Saving money might be the reason you're still broke. I know that sounds wrong, because your whole life you've been told the opposite. Save more, spend less, be careful, and one day you'll be safe. But what if that belief is quietly keeping you stuck? Let me tell you a story. There was a man named David Miller. He was 44 years old, not poor, but never at peace. David worked as a warehouse supervisor in a small industrial town outside Chicago. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise. The same alarm, the same coffee, the same heavy feeling in his chest. He wasn't lazy. He worked hard, really hard. 10-hour shifts, sometimes 12. Overtime whenever they offered it. His hands were rough. His back hurt more than he admitted. But he kept going because he believed something simple. If I just save enough, then I'll be okay. That was his plan. Not dreams, not risks, just safety. Every week, David put money into his savings account. He skipped vacations, said no to dinners out, wore the same shoes long after they should have been replaced. His friends joked about it. Man, live a little. But David would just smile and say, I'm building my future. And for a while, it felt good. Watching that number slowly grow, a few thousand, then 10, then 15. Each dollar felt like a step away from fear. But life has a quiet way of testing your beliefs. One winter, the heating system in his house broke. It was the coldest week of the year. David sat in his living room, wearing 2 jackets, staring at the repair estimate in his hands. $3,000. He hesitated, not because he didn't have the money, but because using it felt like losing. Still, he paid. A few months later, his car started making a strange noise. Then one morning, when it wouldn't start at all. Another bill, another withdrawal. The number in his account began to shrink, and something inside him tightened. He worked more hours, saved harder, cut even deeper. No new clothes, no small joys. Just work and saving. Work and saving. But something strange was happening. Even when he saved more, it never felt like enough. Prices went up, groceries cost more, gas cost more. Everything cost more, except his paycheck. One night, after a long shift, David sat alone at his kitchen table, a single light above him. Bills spread out like quiet accusations. He ran the numbers again, and again, and again. It didn't make sense. He was doing everything right. So why did it feel like he was falling behind? That night, something broke. Not his bank account, his belief. Because for the first time, he saw it clearly. Saving money wasn't moving him forward. It was only slowing his fall. He leaned back in his chair, exhausted, confused, almost angry. If saving isn't enough, then what is? A few days later, something small happened. The kind of thing most people would ignore. At work, during a break, David noticed a younger coworker named Luis sitting in the corner, looking at his phone, smiling. Not the usual tired smile, a real one. David walked over. "What's got you so happy?" he asked. Luis turned the screen. "I sold another one." "Sold what?" Luis hesitated for a second. "Custom wooden shelves. I make them at home." David frowned. "You mean like a side job?" Luis nodded. "Started with one, just for fun. Now I get orders every week." David felt something shift inside him. It wasn't jealousy, it was curiosity. That night, instead of turning on the TV, David sat quietly, thinking. Not about saving, but about creating. The idea felt strange, almost uncomfortable, because for years He had trained himself to avoid risk, to protect, not to hold, to not lose. But now, he started asking a different question. What if money isn't meant to be kept, but used? The thought stayed with him. Days passed. Then one evening, he did something unexpected. He took $500 from his savings, not for a bill, not for an emergency, but for an idea. It made his stomach tight. His mind whispered, "This is a mistake." But he did it anyway. David had always been good with tools, so he bought basic equipment: wood, paint, simple materials. And in his garage, after work, he started building. At first, it was messy, slow, frustrating. His hands, used to routine, struggled with creativity. But something else began to appear. Energy. The kind he hadn't felt in years. He made his first piece. A small coffee table. Not perfect, but real. He posted it online and waited. Nothing happened for days. Then one message came. How much? David stared at the screen, his heart beating faster than it should. He replied. The price felt too high, too bold. But the buyer didn't argue. They just said, "I'll take it." That moment changed something, because for the first time, David didn't trade time for money. He created something, and money came to him. He reinvested, bought better tools, made better pieces. One sale became two. Two became five. He was still tired, still working his job. But now, there was something else. Hope. Not the quiet, passive kind, but an active, glowing force. Months passed. David didn't become rich overnight. That's not how this works. But something deeper changed. He stopped seeing money as something to protect, and started seeing it as something to direct, to plant, to grow. One night, sitting in the same kitchen where he once felt trapped, David looked at his hands, still rough, still tired, but different. Because now, they weren't just surviving, they were building. He smiled softly and whispered something he wished he had understood years earlier. Money that sits slowly disappears. He paused, then added, but money that moves creates a life. If you're listening to this right now, maybe you're like David, working hard, saving carefully, doing everything you were told, and still feeling stuck. I'm not telling you to stop saving, but I am telling you this: saving alone won't change your life. Because the world moves, prices rise, time passes, and money that stands still falls behind. But even a small step, a small idea, a small risk can begin to shift everything. You don't need to start big. You just need to start differently. Because the moment you stop asking, "How do I keep my money?" and start asking, "How can I grow it?" that's the moment your life begins to change. If this story made you pause, even for a second, then maybe it's time to look at your own life a little differently. And if you're ready to think deeper, live wiser, and build something that grows, stay with us. Because sometimes, one small shift in thinking can quietly change everything.